The last image I've chosen for this series about wood was my attempt to broaden our understanding or our thinking about materials in art and how materials naturally have meaning. I mean, artists transform materials, don't they? That's what we expect artists to do. And artists understand that making a work of art is a negotiation with matter. It's about what you do, or how you deal with or understand the fundamental properties of whatever it is that's in your hands. Now, when an artist doesn't literally make the work, as in the case of this installation by the Colombian artist Doris Salcedo, it doesn't mean that that isn't still true. It's still the case that material is meaningful, even if the material has not literally been manipulated by the artist's body. This is something that was put together for a temporary exhibition. Now, I just want to pause, because when we know that a work of art is temporary, that should affect the way we think about it. Because a temporary work of art is going to be a bit like a theatrical event or a festival or a carnival, something that is by its very nature ephemeral and therefore by its very nature destined to exist in memory more than it does in reality. Now, I say this because I'm talking about an object that, or an installation that doesn't exist anymore, that a lot of people looking at this won't have seen and now can't, unless the artist decides to redo it, which she might, but I kind of suspect she won't. So we have to use photography in this particular case, but we also have to engage our imaginations to imagine what it was like to actually see this thing. And remember that even people who did see it can only recapture it in their memory. They can't go back and see it. Memory and the workings of memory just happen to be very important to this artist's work. So the fact it's ephemeral actually is very meaningful. Doris Salcedo is an artist who has always used the ordinary object and its resonance as a way of thinking about fundamental ideas about memory and the passing of time and the absence of humans. Now, if we were to see this in reality, we would be on a street in Istanbul and we would be seeing a gap in the street. A gap in the street where there once was a building. And, you know, a building isn't just a building. A building is about people. A building is about people's lives. It's about what people do. It's about work. It's about family. It's about love life. It's about social life. And so what she wanted to do was to kind of populate this empty space with objects that indicated absence, with objects that indicated the fact that there is nobody there. And that's resonant and powerful. So she stacked up, in a way that looks kind of haphazard, about 1,500 chairs. I say about because the number doesn't really matter. Clearly, you could stand in front of this thing and try and count the chairs, but I feel that would be futile, because the point really is that you have the effect of many chairs. You have the effect of many different kinds of chairs. They are, of course, wooden chairs, which is why I've chosen it. And each one of them has been made in a different kind of style. I mean, some of them are the same. Has been made in a style that immediately will call to mind certain kinds of spaces. Cafes, restaurants, living rooms, dining rooms, schools, waiting rooms, offices, you name it. And because they will call to mind certain spaces, they will also call to mind certain kinds of human activity. Sitting, eating, socializing, going on a date with somebody, being at a job interview, you know, having a meeting, whatever it might be. Chairs are really resonant objects. And when they cannot be used, when they are stacked up in such a way like this, they indicate the loss of that social life, the loss of that human life. I mean, they are naturally communicative objects, aren't they, chairs? You know that that Van Gogh, I think, really understood that when he made his amazing painting of his chair, which is in the National Gallery in London, which to me is a kind of anti-self-portrait. It is a portrait of the artist as an invisible man. It's a portrait of the artist as an absence. And few things say absence more powerfully than an empty chair. You think of an empty chair at a dining table for somebody who can't be there anymore. For me, it's poignant in a very fundamental and universal way. But when you use chairs like this, when you use these simple wooden chairs in this particular way, those kinds of universal human ideas or meanings can come to have additional sort of power. It's as though we're seeing a pile of ghosts, of absent bodies, of loss, really. I find it immensely powerful. I have to say that I've never seen it in reality. I have to say that I've only ever seen it in photographs, but the photographs are enough. It's not just that I'm sitting there looking at the photograph saying, that's pretty amazing. The ideas of the work continue to resonate even with the work long gone. This tells us something really true, which is that a work of art is not just about the object. It's about what the object does when you meet the object. You meet it in reality, you meet it in photographs. When your mind, your experience, your body and the object meet, that's when the art happens. When the object is gone, it can still be happening. The Van Gogh chair is kind of alive in me, even though I'm not near the Van Gogh chair right now. So I think that that's a really fundamental truth that Doris Salcedo is exploring in this work, and it can encourage us to think in that way about other objects that we see. The fact that they can resonate powerfully beyond the limitations of their physical existence on a plinth, in a frame, or in this case on a street in Istanbul.